what one design decision, or what is one design decision most homeowners regret not thinking about early enough in the process? Now, in my experience, there's a couple of things. The biggest thing I would say is I always recommend, if you're going to be building or adding on to your house over time, start with a master plan. Even if you are not going to build everything in phase one, know where you're going at the end of the day. Because I often find that people take a shotgun approach. They will build onto their house for what they need now, but then later on, when they want to do phase two, phase one is actually in the wrong place. And then they regret
That's right.
having built that, not having planned the entire thing and work back from that. And secondly, not all stakeholders are on the same page. So often you'll find the husband wants one thing and that's important for him, and the wife wants something else and that's important for her. And they don't bring those two ideas together and have a good compromise before they move forward. So I think in my experience, those are the two things. But Nick, in your experiences, have you found?
Oh, 100%, exactly the same. And I think the most key point that I would only add off the back of that comment is you need a comprehensive master plan, because you need that to equally have a better understanding of costs. And there's nothing worse than just going straight into a project, not knowing what it's going to cost, and then by the end of it, in accordance with the government's independent statistics, renovations, as an example, end up on average 30% over what your expected price was, and you hear a lot worse, and that's just from poor planning and communication early on.
What should I consider when choosing an architect or designer for my project?
Oh, I think we keep that pretty light. And you've always got to have a good rapport between you both. That can be pretty hard to assess. I think checking in on customer testimonials is really important on that. It's like picking any professional, and everyone will have had experience in this field. It can be very difficult to actually determine if they're going to be the right fit. And so what are a couple of things that can help with that? Well, one is often customer testimonials. We obviously, as part of PlanFirst, see benefit in being associated with a larger network that we're growing, in that it's a modern form of an institution in some ways, which is very much about a customer centric experience, and that's why I think we're seeing it across a lot of other professions and brands. Just give you a couple of examples, or two or three. Animates is pretty much the main go-to vet supplier in New Zealand, if I'm not wrong. We have Lumino, which is a dentist brand, and Specsavers, and those three brands would completely eclipse any of the independents. And I don't think that's necessarily just about bulk buying. I think that is actually about customers' expectations and customer experience, and effectively a safety net if something doesn't go to plan.
I also think if you've got a friend or somebody that's done a design project and you can get a referral from them, if they've had a good experience with a designer, the chances are you'll have a good experience as well.
That's
so
right.
Referrals are very important. If you are planning a project, ask around and see who your friends have used in the past and who they can recommend.
Yeah, agreed. Here's the hot pick for the session, and you can hold me to account if I get this wrong, but it's a prediction on a product that I think is going to become incredibly mainstream in the next 3 years in terms of interiors. And what that is effectively to start vinyl wrapping a whole lot of surfaces. So a very similar technology that's been around for a very long time with vinyl wraps for vehicles. We're seeing some terrific products on a global level that have been innovated, and the solutions are just outstanding. They are, because they can effectively manufacture a vinyl to look like any product they want. So they pretty much can span the look from stones to timbers to paint colors to textures. And I don't know how they do it, but they even manage to control the textural quality. So the timbers, for instance, even have a grain effect, and they just look amazing. And it means it gives you the versatility to even to completely cover over an existing room. And it's not just limited to kitchens. We've seen it in bathrooms where walls and even showers are overlaid with a vinyl.
So are those vinyl products waterproof?
That's correct. It's it's waterproof. If you're going to overlay it in a shower, you're ultimately, what you're relying on there is that you already have a waterproof substrate in place.
Okay.
If it was within the shower, so it's completely suitable in that environment. But you can definitely use it in the remainder of the bathroom. One of the things I really like it for is definitely for cabinets where people want a solution and they maybe don't want to completely rebuild the kitchen. Something I am really keen to try is actually using some very entry-level white melamine joinery, and then actually designing it with these kinds of products and then costing that up. It would just be a phenomenally customized solution. No different to the way we see cars that have some pretty outstanding artwork.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Nick, a couple of questions coming through. This is an interesting question. For homeowners on a budget, where's the smartest place to invest first? Kitchen, insulation, windows, or layout?
It's a fair question. Do you want me to answer? Do you want to go? Or
You go first, and then I'll add in.
I think it is definitely project specific, just like the sleep out we spoke about. Once we basically visit a home and listen to the homeowner, we can actually then give some feedback. We're very candid practice, meaning two very quick examples. In many years back, I visited homes in an area before house prices became so non-affordable. And I'm thinking of a particularly kind of affordable area at that time. Renovations cost the same price wherever you build. And so unfortunately, it was cost prohibitive to extend. And we'd often recommend maybe it's a better idea to sell and to buy a house in a different neighborhood. And people are very appreciative of the honesty and the openness and the feedback. And so just like you said about glazing and heating, this one bewilders people. For example, so sometimes I can get a little bit of trouble for this, but it's not. I don't believe it's the case. It's not true that you actually have to double glaze your house, just like the structural beam. In our own house, we have a north-facing kitchen, and we actually get all the advantage of that being single glazed by the fact that it means in winter it actually attracts more heat gains. And then it doesn't matter that it effectively has a heat loss at night because we're not actually effectively sitting in that room. So there's a lot more complexity to planning and design than sometimes is kind of considered.
Yeah, I think it is project specific, and I also think if you look at the specific house and the family that's living there, what is their biggest priority? If they need an extra bedroom, let's say, but they can't afford to do an extension, then layout would be the most important thing for them.
Yes.
And you would carve out another bedroom somehow within their existing footprint.
I agree.
If the house is freezing cold in winter, then insulation would be the most important thing. So it very much depends on each and every project. I don't think there's a blanket solution.
No, you're right, and I think a good consultant, will in fact actually advise you potentially much wider spanning as a trusted consultant should. One that I just regularly bring up when I visit homes is effectively heating. I think of one particular project where I was brought in. They wanted to do an outdoor living area, and they had a newborn, and I raised the concept of central heating, and they were really appreciative of it. They hadn't actually been told that they were just using portable heaters, and just a sort of a comment on that about a consultant versus a proprietary company. By proprietary, I mean companies that ultimately promote their commodity, and it's understandable. If you're going to ring a couple, I'm just going to give a couple examples. If you ring someone about carpets, if they promote wool, they'll tell you all the benefits of wool. If they're promoting nylons, they're going to tell you that their product is better for the same factors. And we see the same with double glazing is a very good thing, but effectively insulating a house is no different to if you basically put more insulation on your fridge. If you don't actually plug the fridge in, it's not going to stay cold. So the other way around, you could completely insulate your home, but if the thermal modeling hasn't been done on what are the consequences then in terms of heating or cooling, it could go terribly bad.
Exactly. Another interesting question. If you were designing a new home today, what would you prioritize to make sure it's still relevant in 20 years' time?
One thing we see that we've been getting astronomical amount of work on is that a lot of new houses do not have a purpose-built laundry compared to old houses. They'll have a very big double garage, and they will then have the plumbing done as part of the base build so that the homeowner can connect their washing machine and plug in the dryer, but there isn't all the other superfluous items that people actually want for their laundry. So all of a sudden, they buy the house and it's like, oh, well, there's actually nowhere to put the laundry basket.
Yes.
After they buy a 300 plus square meter house.
I think one of the biggest concerns in the world at the moment is the unaffordability of housing. And I think that's why the tiny homes have become so popular over time. That is another discussion in itself.
Yeah, this is a bit possibly a little controversial. I think the legislation, in particular at a local government level, is well intended by the fact that there is a mandate towards allowing more medium and higher density developments. From my own bias on that, I think what we're seeing a lot of is a lot of first home. There's obviously a demand for first homes. Again, in an urban area, a lot of those first homes tend to be smaller households, one or two people dwellings. And so once those entry-level house prices have exceeded affordability, that's why we're seeing, I think, a lot of these tiny homes, which are actually tiny townhouses, replace that demographic.
Yes.